Hey, want to know exactly what to say to your prospects to get them more interested and influence easier? I'm going to share that and more in this morning's marketing tip. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is Greg Gomez III, founder, CEO, FastStartMarketer.com. Over the last video sets, I've been sharing with you what types of leads there are, where you can get those types of leads. Now comes the most critical part. Now that you've got these leads, now you know where to get those leads. What do you say to them? What's proper to say to them based on the lead types that you've got in order to have a higher likelihood of getting them to engage with you and ultimately taking your next step? Attending a hotel meeting, three-way call, house party, home team meeting, whatever you got, webinars, however you take them to the next step. How do you get them there? Now, before we go into this, there are several different ways to do this, but I really want to make sure we're clear on one thing. The job of prospecting or inviting is not to sell. Your job is not to try to convince them of anything. And in fact, what I'm going to go over here today is going to show you how you should be positioning to each type of prospect based on how you're getting their lead, how to frame them correctly so that they can hear this message in the best light possible. It matters who these people are, how they were acquired as a lead, and more importantly, what they should expect from the next step. So it's very clear that when you've got your leads, you need to be clear on what your next step is. And in inviting or prospecting, it's not to sell them, it's simply to frame them so they're more receptive for the message they're going to get on your next step. Webinar, three-way call, house party, hotel meeting, etc., whatever that happens to be. All right? Cool. Let's go through it. And as we've talked about before, the lead types that there are: cold targeted, positioned, buyer's files. Where do you get them? Warm lists. You can go out there and buy leads, and you can generate your own. Full videos on the side here. You can watch those on the previous videos. But now that you've got them, what do you say? Here we go. We're going to start with warm leads because that's probably one of the more common places you're going to get your lead lists to start, or if it's not some place to start, you can fast forward a little bit. But so with a warm lead, you're not looking to sell them into the opportunity of what you've got. You want to make sure that it's absolutely clear that you're going to nurture and protect the relationship. That's one of my concerns. I want to make sure that the people that I'm talking to don't feel so much pressure for me to join my company, my product, my services, that it's going to threaten the relationship. Make sense? And I'm assuming you feel that way too. I've always found it a massive mistake by leaders to tell you if your friends really care about you, then they're going to support you in your business. At what point did your friends ever sign up for that as part of the relationship? That was not in the contracts, and quite frankly, what kind of friend are we if we are not going to treat our friends well or not think well of them if they're not going to support us in our business? That's not their job. That's our job to support ourselves. Tirade over. All right. So that being said, one of the key things that I teach my associates to do, and one thing I highly recommend for you, make it okay for them to tell you no. Remember, when somebody tells you no, they're not saying no to you, they're saying no to your offer. Thanks, Jeffrey Combs. It's a great way of putting it. So when a person comes to you or you're approaching one of your warm markets, you can literally say to them, hey, I'm doing this thing, not sure if it's for you. I thought it was pretty cool. It does X, Y, and Z. Would you be interested? And if they say, well, I don't know, hey, it's okay if you're not interested, it's totally fine. It's just that I saw a lot of value in it. I thought you might be interested too. Would you be open to take a look at it? And then we can go from there. Yeah. And then before I take them in there, hey, again, this is something I was really excited about, but you don't have to do it. At no point do you have to feel like you have to do this because of our relationship. If it's not for you, it's totally fine. Is that fair? Yeah, absolutely. What happens is you're pulling down the buying resistance, because what you're literally saying to them is, it's okay to tell me no. If it's not for you, it's totally all right. My thing is, I got really excited about it. I thought it might benefit you because I heard you talking about some challenges before, like you weren't happy with your weight, or you were looking for ways to generate some extra revenue, or whatever the scenario, value, benefit that your offer provides that you're able to talk to them about. And if it's okay, or if they're not interested, no worries, thanks. If you know anybody else, let me know. Do you know anybody who might be interested? I got this friend Joe who might be interested. Great. Now that moves us into the next category of lead, because now we've got a referral. Now the truth though is this is a cold lead, because they don't know much about us, we don't know much about them, except for our friend thinks that they could lose a few pounds or they might find some value in some businesses. So literally it is a cold lead. That's how you approach, that's how I approach my warm leads. That's how I recommend you approach your warm leads. Next, cold leads. How do we approach a cold prospect? Very simply, the purpose of a cold targeted process is to build a little rapport, a little jargon, a little communication between the two, find some commonalities, and then ask if they're open. Not even to invite. We're opening them so that we can do the invite process next, which we then move to the warm market approach. Make sense? Okay, here's how we do it. There are some really good guys that are out there that are really much better at the cold process than I am. My approach is just to go have a conversation with somebody, and if something comes up that would align with them, then I make the recommendation. But let me show you an example of it. So if I'm talking with somebody, I'm a huge Cardinals fan. If I'm talking to them about Cardinals, we wind up talking about it for a bit. I'm going to talk about Cardinals first. I'm going to make sure we have that rapport first, back and forth, whatever that commonality is. And then when we get to the point where I say, hey, are you a season ticket holder? Now I'm going to ask two-step away questions. So these aren't directly, hey, do you need to make more money? I ask questions that are a step or two away from that. So if I know I've got season tickets and I know they don't have season tickets because nobody's sitting, they're not sitting there the rest of the year, say, hey, are you a season ticket holder here, or how did you get these seats? No, I bought them one time. Oh, are you just in town visiting, or was this something you wanted to do ongoing? No, I want to have season tickets, I just couldn't afford to get them done. Oh, okay. That's interesting you say that, because one of the things that I do is I actually use a secondary income business. I actually set up a business specifically for helping me put me into revenue-wise to be able to afford to do things like this on a monthly basis. So it's pretty awesome. That's one of the reasons I did it. And typically, if they're interested, really, how do you do that? They'll ask questions. Well, you know, it's something that I do. It actually takes a little while to describe. It's kind of a business venture that I go into that's a sideline income. I mean, in your case, are you looking to create some extra income that might help you to be able to do things like this on a regular basis? Yeah, what would you do? Okay, cool. I don't want to go into it here. Number one, I want to enjoy the game. I don't want to work. But number two, I got to show you some stuff to actually really make sure that it impacts you. Tell you what, give me your contact details. Let me follow up with you on Tuesday or Wednesday. What time's better for you, right? Now, I'm not closing for go watch my video, buy my stuff. I'm closing for let's have a conversation. And now I'm going to approach it as a warm market. And I start off, hey, we talked. It was a great time. I really enjoyed hanging out with you at the event. First off, I want to make sure you're clear. It's not mandatory you do this. Some folks see great value in it. Some folks don't. If it's not for you, just definitely let me know. That's totally okay. Make sense? So now we switch from the cold, just determining if they're open, to then moving to the warm market approach. Makes sense? Man, these are good. You should watch this over and over again and script this out, because it works very, very well. Now, what if I have some leads that I've purchased or I've gotten online or something of that nature, and now I'm approaching them as called cold targeted leads? Now, these are folks that I know something about, but they don't know who I am. Maybe I don't have the luxury of sitting next to them at some type of venue or anything like that before I start the dialogue and start conversing with them. I'm literally giving them a cold call outside of the fact that I know something about them. Make sense? Man, I talk fast, don't I? Got to cram a lot of information in here for you because we got limited time. So when I contact them, I phone them up, and this is the process. Ring, ring, and they answer the phone. Yeah, hello. Hello, John? Yes, this is John. Hey, John, this is Greg Gomez calling from our offices here in Phoenix, Arizona. The reason for my call is I show here that you had gone online and done XYZ, or showing that you were a person who suffered from XYZ challenge, or you were someone who is related to or somebody who is doing something to qualified for the reason I purchased this lead. Does that make sense? So I'm calling because I show here that your XYZ condition, situation, status. Is that correct? Is that true? Is that you? Yes, it is. I'm asking a question I already know the answer to for two reasons. Number one, I want to get a yes for yes momentum. Previous training videos, always watch my stuff. The second reason I'm doing this is I want to validate that the person I purchased the leads from actually gave me accurate data. I'm asking for folks that meet this specific requirements. They have this specific condition or challenge or issue or commonality. And when I'm calling them, I want to reference that commonality to see if they, A, identify with it, and B, actually did the thing that I paid for. I bought leads because they said they were going to suffer from this condition or have this challenge. Do they? In fact, 10-15% won't, most should. And if I find that my ratios are way off on that, I'm going to go talk to my list broker and say, hey, buddy, you gave me some bunk stuff here, let's get it fixed. So that's the way that I open that up. Now, once I have identified that issue, now I can start to present myself as a trusted advisor, and I start going into my scripting. Oh, I did do that. Great. The reason for my call is, like I said, we're an organization that's dedicated to helping consumers like yourself learn how to be able to reduce savings on their electric bill, maybe cut their electric bill up to 30 to 50%. I'm not sure if you'd qualify though. If I could show you a way you could cut your electricity bill up to 30 to 50%, do you have 5 minutes now for me to ask you a few questions to see if you would be eligible? Would that be something you're interested in? Yes, yes it is. Great. Grab a pen and piece of paper. Let me get you the details. Now I'm closing not for my next step, not for anything at all prior to that. I'm looking to qualify them, and I'm putting them on an outside velvet rope approach that you need to cross this line first. And if you're not answering the questions adequately, I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want to put you through a funnel that may or may not benefit you. Does that make sense? Now I'm doing you the favor. Is that clear? Oh, thank you very much, right? But you still have to cross the velvet rope. That's what the approach we're targeting and closing for there with cold targeted leads. This is good stuff, isn't it? Pat myself on the back there. Positioned or buyer files. Now these are leads that actually have some positioning, some posturing, some buying to them. I'm going to cover these in the webinar. These are going to take a little while. I want to make sure you're clear on how to actually get them done properly, because doing this correctly can absolutely eliminate objections, take all of the qualification stuff that you should do and get answered up front, and also alert you to what qualifications you should not do. You should never qualify for, because what you'll wind up doing is literally cutting your sales out. I'm going to be answering all of that and more on this Wednesday's webinar. Register below, get into the webinar. We're going to cover a lot of great content, and I'm going to give you scripts and strategies and tactics on how to take your leads, because this has to do with leads. It's not just a name and a number. It's a name and a number of someone interested and positioned for them to take the next step with you in buying your products, joining your company, or getting started with your organization. And that starts with identifying who you need to get, getting leads from them however you get them, and then having a conversation that frames them for the offer that's your next step. And if you're ready for that next step, it's very simple, my friend. Fill in the information below, get registered for the webinar, and definitely be there. Take plenty of notes. If you found some value in this, I'm going to ask a favor of you. I like to deliver value for free, but I also want to get the word out there. I really want to make an impact in the industry to start helping more people learn the right ways to do prospecting and inviting and get a bigger result in their business. And it's not complicated. It's very simple. Follow the strategies I've provided here, and you're going to make a better impact in your business. You want your team members to get that bigger impact, or you want to help the world become and respect our industry. Simple. Like and share and comment. Ask your questions below. Engage. I need that conversation. I would rather you were here in the room with me so we could talk directly with you. Get on the Wednesday night webinar, and we'll do that with you as well. I love the interaction, and I want to answer your questions specifically. But get the word out. Bring the team members in, and we'll start helping them improve their performance as well. That's it. I'll see you on Wednesday night's webinar, and I'll see you in the next video. Talk to you then.